Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Denise Valdesancho.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
Confirmation of charges hearing for former President Rodrigo Duterte at the International Criminal Court concludes today with both the prosecution and defense set to deliver their closing arguments.
National Unity Party clarifies it has no official stand yet on the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte, saying members may instead vote according to their conscience.
The Philippine Medical Association pushes stronger dengue prevention and vaccination efforts, setting a goal of 0 dengue deaths by 2030.
Choco overcame a 3-game slump, defeating Galleries Tower in 5 sets at the 2026 PVL All-Filipino Conference.
Now, first on the news, the camp of former President Rodrigo Duterte pushes back against the prosecution's claims on day 3 of his confirmation of charges hearing at the International Criminal Court, or ICC. Here's the report.
On the third day of the International Criminal Court's confirmation of charges hearing, it was the camp of former President Rodrigo Duterte that fired back at the prosecution's arguments. But before that, Duterte's lawyer, attorney Nicholas Kaufman, clarified that the defense does not intend to disrespect the souls of the deceased.
The defense does not disrespect the soul of any deceased person, nor does it make light of the loss of life.
Kaufman also took aim at the Philippine media. He argued that journalists tend to focus only on the more sensational portions of Duterte's speeches.
Journalists and their editors have a tendency to fixate on the salacious elements of a person's speeches while ignoring the less interesting parts.
It can be recalled that the prosecution presented several of Duterte's past statements about the war on drugs, statements that made headlines at the time. These include Duterte's alleged admission that he was responsible for killings carried out by police. But Kaufman countered that the prosecution failed to show other parts of those speeches, which he said demonstrate the legal use of self-defense by police officers.
And the order is simply this: go out, arrest them if you can. But if there is no peaceful method of doing it and you're presented with violent resistance, thereby placing your jeopardy in your life, you shoot.
For this reason, Kaufman argued that Duterte's speeches alone are not enough to directly link him to extrajudicial killings.
The point we merely wish to make is that relying on the former prosecutor's speeches as a means of proving criminal intent is impossible.
Meanwhile, Davao City-based journalist Ben Jason Teshorna objected to the prosecution's presentation of his video, which showed Duterte watching CCTV footage of the killing of 3 suspected thieves at Agdao Public Market in 2013. In his affidavit, Teshorna said the prosecution did not have permission to use his copyrighted video. He also denied any association with what he described as a tampered or spliced version of the footage, saying its broadcast has damaged his reputation and put his family at risk. Kaufman further insisted that there is no smoking gun, no direct evidence proving that Duterte ordered police officers to kill.
Not one witness relevant to any of the 49 incidents with which Mr. Rodrigo Duterte is charged will testify that he received a direct order from the former president to go out and kill someone.
The defense also questioned the crimes against humanity charge. Kaufman argued that compared to the number of arrests made during the anti-drug campaign, the number of deaths was significantly smaller. He also claimed that the entire civilian population was not targeted, one of the required elements in proving crimes against humanity.
To me, and as a matter of logic, it would appear that the targeted population in the Duterte case was selected randomly.
He added that the alleged 9 killings in Davao City cannot be considered widespread. Kaufman also disputed claims about an alleged mass grave at a quarry site in Davao City, saying it was not proven that the remains were linked to extrajudicial killings and could have even dated back to World War II.
They could have dug up the entire city of Davao, but all they have managed to produce, the prosecution on the matter, is a reference to Leila de Lima in a Senate committee where she talks about the discovery of a few human remains which could have belonged to World War II Japanese soldiers.
In the second session of the hearing, Kaufman questioned the prosecution's use of the word neutralization, which it equated with murder and anti-drug operations. He argued that neutralization does not necessarily mean killing. Kaufman cited statements from Senator Bato de la Rosa and the revised Philippine National Police operational procedures, saying the term may refer to arrest and detention through lawful means.
In an interview relied on by the prosecution at footnote 136 of the pre-confirmation brief, De La Rosa explains how tok hang means knock and plead, and that it is a totally legitimate police strategy. However, the citations relied on by the prosecution to infer that tok hang was a criminal modus operandi are completely taken out of context.
For the latest developments from The Hague, Netherlands, we now go to our One News anchor, Angela Lemunzad Castro. Good morning, Angela. What's the latest there?
Hi, good morning, Diego and Denise. We're here at the Hague, Netherlands. We're in the confirmation of charges of former President Rodrigo Duterte is taking place. And right now, it's already day 4, no? Abangan natin yan dahil yesterday, natapos nga yung submission on the merits of the case sa panig ng defense sa pangunguna ni Attorney Kaufman, no? Nicholas Kaufman. And today, sa ngayong Friday, ay continuation pa rin ng kanyang defense, ano? Ng kanyang submission on the merits of the case. And we will see what's going to happen. I was gonna tell you the summary of the hearing yesterday, but you had your full report yesterday, earlier. So, doon na lang sa mga nagtatanong yesterday kasi there were some parts of the hearing during the submission on the merits of the defense na medyo nawawala, napuputol-putol, ano? It's called redacted because there were some parts there when Kaufman was about to tell the identity of the witnesses or the victims, which is not allowed, no, in the ICC pre-trial chamber. Actually, it was discussed in the day first of the confirmation of the hearing. That's one of the house rules that were discussed by the judge. Kaya medyo parang ni-remind itong si Kaufman na wag yun gawin, wag sabihin because nga at some point, si Julian Nichols on the side, talagang parang inirereklamo niya or parang binabanggit niya, nire-raise niya yung concern na yon na Nicholas Kaufman is about to give the identity of the witnesses or the victims. That's why at some point in the broadcast yesterday, may mga portions that were redacted. So again, today, February 27, is the 4th day of the confirmation of charges of former President Rodrigo Duterte, and we will be expecting the continuation of the submission on the merits by the defense and another closing state sa panig ng defense, ng prosecution, and the victims by their legal counsel. Dito natin makikita ang tagisan ng talino nitong mga abogado na to para makumbinse ang pre-trial chamber judges na number one dun sa side ng prosecution and the defense na may merito, no? There's merit on the case and that it deserves to go to full trial. On the other side of the fence, we will see also Kaufman kumbaga parang sabihan yung trial chamber or convince the trial chamber na walang kasalanan dito si Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte and that walang merito yung sinasabi ng prosecution, which is what he did also yesterday na talagang point by point nung ni-raise ng prosecution, talagang ang ginawa ni Kaufman ay talagang tinira niya isa-isa yung mga nilabas ng prosecution yesterday. We were able to talk to some of the members of the Filipino Council of former President. Si Attorney Sal Panelo said that they're very Kaufman did not disappoint him, no, and sabi niya shattered into pieces yung prosecution. Sabi niya yun ang kanyang palagay, na sabi niya kung pagbabasihan talaga ang merit of the case, sabi niya ganun, and base doon sa presentation ni Kaufman, talagang hindi mako-confirm ang charges. Pero sabi niya sa kutob niya, dahil ang pre-trial chamber or no, ang ICC mismo was already has been unfair with the former president. Sabi niya ganun, baka ma-confirm ang charges. Of course, sa panig ng mga biktima, na kausap din natin sila yesterday, and they felt na they were disrespected by the parang minaliit yung kanilang mga kaanak na nawala, because yun nga, isa sa mga pinoint out nga ni Kaufman na minimal lang daw yung mga death. So it cannot be crimes against humanity, because yung order, let's say for example, yung sinasabi nga na drug war is not directed at the whole population of the Philippines. In fact, sinabi ni Kaufman na president is loyal and loving to the Philippines. That's why he was able to be the president. He was elected by a majority of the Filipinos. So why would he attack the whole population? So ang pinupunto niya doon, the war on drug was only for the criminals and drug pushers. So yun muna ang latest dito sa atin. Last night pala, before we went home, there's an economical prayer, a small forum that happened in a chapel. I forgot lang the name, organized by the victims and some human rights advocates. Nagkaroon sila ng candle lighting doon upang yun nga, ipagdasal yung itong kaso nila. For them, this is a step forward to accountability, and they still hope. Actually, they hope nga na ma-confirm itong mga charges na to. But for the lawyers, on the side of the victims, especially yung mga supporters na lawyers like si Attorney Cristina Conti, sila Attorney Nery Colmenares, they are very confident that the charges will be confirmed within 60 days. Kasi sabi nga natin, 60 days natin malalaman, within 60 days natin malalaman ang magiging resulta nitong confirmation of charges. There are three possible outcomes of this confirmation of charges. One would be all the charges will be confirmed and we will proceed to trial. Second, no charges will be confirmed and there will be no trial. And possibility na ma-release si former President Rodrigo Duterte, but we will know pag nandoon na tayo sa sitwasyon na yon. The third possible option would be the pre-trial chamber judges will give back the evidence to the defense, or the prosecution rather, and would ask them to file another case or pagtibayin yung kanilang kaso. Ibig sabihin parang kumuha pa kayo ng iba pang ebidensya. And during those times, kung gano'n ang mangyayari, pwede magkaroon ng appeal for whatever ruling ang mangyayari. That's it muna dito sa The Hague, Netherlands. I'm Angela.
Parang nagpapaalam ka na, hindi pa nagtatanong.
Hindi pa pala, o nga pala. Medyo kasi maingay dito sa street na to. It's already 3:14 in the morning. Katatapos lang nung mga parang people, parang naggumimik sila siguro kagabi, no? Kaya ang daming tao. Anyway.
Ayun, hindi, ang sinasabi ng iba kasi na yung isang tactic ni Kaufman by questioning the validity of a charge, not necessarily without evidence, pero even those who are against Duterte on the other side, medyo maganda yung tactic na yon by saying, paano naging crimes against humanity? Review natin ito. Crimes against humanity kasi is tantamount to like Hitler or yung mga ibang Benito Mussolini na parang genocide. Ito, 6,500 were killed comparable to other Philippine administrations. So baka, ang sabi ng iba, baka we need to rethink, ano ba talaga dapat ang charge? Is it humanity? Is it mass murder? Ano ang comment dito ng prosecution?
Well, hindi pa natin nakausap yung prosecution and the lawyers, yung common legal representatives, but we were able to talk to from NUPL, at saka ICC Assistant to Counsel si Attorney Cristina Conti. ay sabi nga niya kung legality-wise, medyo okay naman daw yung pagpe-present nga ng defense, pero nakukulangan pa rin siya at saka confident pa rin nga daw siya doon sa magiging resulta. Doon sa pinopoint mo, Diego, nga doon sa crimes against humanity, sinabi naman ni Attorney Nery Colmenares, sabi niya, hindi naman, it doesn't work that way. Sabi niya ganun, they have to prove nga na hindi si Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte nag-utos nung drug war na yon. Sabi niya parang meron siyang sinabi term ng legal term. I just forgot yung legal term. Pero sinasabi niya, it doesn't work that well na hindi po pwede na kailangan ikaw isa lang yung pumatay sa iyo o ito lang yung pumatay ganito ay yun lang yun. Pero meron siyang sinabi, hindi ko lang maalala, pero sabi niya ganun, mahina daw yung ganung basehan. Sinasabi ni Attorney Nery Colmenares. But then again, we will see what's gonna happen kasi nga yung iba sinabi naman nila na ano lang naman yung parang what's new with what he said. That's almost what he said during the that's what he said during the we're live right now. The Philippines.
The Philippines.
Yeah.
I love the Philippines.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Hello, Philippines.
Yeah, he's
Welcome from the Netherlands.
local from the
We also
Netherlands.
put you this year from the Netherlands.
Okay.
This year from the Netherlands, we had the biggest support to the Philippines for the sea storming to the Philippines like ever.
Okay.
So we all support you, and Philippines, let's come together.
Okay.
We're one big world. Let's go.
Thank you.
You, of
Okay,
course.
thank you. All right. So yun nga, as I've said, maraming tao dito ngayon because nagkakaroon sila ng gathering. But going back to the case, yun. So they're very confident na kahit yun pa yung pinoint out daw ni Kaufman, ay kulang pa rin daw yun, no? Sabi nga ng prosecution. Diego.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, One News anchor Angela Lagunzad Castro reporting live from The Hague, Netherlands.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. The Office of the Ombudsman has received a joint affidavit from 18 individuals claiming to be former personnel of ex-lawmaker Zaldico, alleging kickbacks linked to flood control funds. Here's the report.
A joint affidavit executed by 18 self-identified former soldiers has been submitted to the Office of the Ombudsman. They claim to have delivered flood control kickbacks to public officials, including to President Bongbong Marcos. Their legal counsel, Attorney Levy Baligon, submitted the affidavit but clarified that it is not yet a formal complaint, only a referral. He said the purpose is for the Ombudsman to determine whether prima facie evidence exists against the officials implicated.
Nirefer namin sa Office of the Ombudsman para magkaroon lamang ng prima facie proof na merong offense na nakumit at ang mga napangalanan doon ay maaaring guilty sa mga offenses na ito. Ano ang mga offenses na ito? Ito ay mga pupwedeng violations ng Republic Act 3019 o yung Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. Number 2, yung Republic Act 6713 na nagbabawal na tumanggap ang mga opisyal ng kahit anumang regalo. Ang basehan po namin ay tumanggap sila ng milyon-milyon na pera, pero hindi po yan naipakita sa kanilang salin.
The affidavit alleges that 7 senators and 26 members of the House received kickbacks from former Congressman Zaldico. For its part, the Office of the Ombudsman assured the public that it will exercise fairness, objectivity, and professionalism in evaluating the submission. Senate President Pro Tempore Ping Lacson questioned the group's claim that 805 billion pesos in kickbacks were delivered, saying the figure does not add up based on government flood control allocations. The amount would represent about 70% of the total flood control funds from 2023 to 2025.
So kung ang napunta kay Congressman Zaldico allegedly 805. Saan manggagaling yung napunta kay Bernardo? Saan ang napunta kay Alcantara?
So, sobra yung computation.
Sobra computation.
But Attorney Baligod has an explanation.
Pero meron tayong irrigation projects na maraming ghost dyan. Okay, at makikita nyo naman, kahapon lang naglabas ng statement si Congressman Erice na di umano yung 2 billion na confidential fund ng customs ay kinuha daw ng ating presidente. No? So maraming pwedeng panggalingan.
Meanwhile, Malacanang responded to former Congressman Mike Defensor's warning that a second batch of whistleblowers may soon come forward.
Mike Defensor, the known Wonder Boy. Marami sa kanyang talumpati ang naghihikayat sa ating mga kababayan na tanggalin sa pwesto ang ating Pangulo. Alam na natin ang motibo. Mike Defensor again? Ador Mawanay 2.0? Kilala ang salitang Mawanay dahil sa pamimilit di umano sa kanya na gumawa ng peking salaysay.
In an interview with Storycon, Defensor said the palace had the wrong spin on the Ador Mawanay angle as he had nothing to do with that. He also denied organizing the 18 alleged bagmen, though he expressed support for them.
I will help out in whatever way I can because what they're saying is true. But that the government should address the issue, Bongbong Marcos should address the issue, the senators and the congressmen, ano yung perang dinideliver.
In The Hague, the Office of the Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court also issued a statement after being drawn into the controversy. The prosecutor's office said it independently gathers information relevant to its investigations, with activities funded through the ICC's official budget. Baligod's group earlier alleged that Zaldico and former Senator Sani Trillanes funded the expenses of ICC investigators while they were in the country looking into the drug war of former President Rodrigo Duterte.
The National Unity Party says it has no official stand yet on the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte. This comes after an earlier party statement suggested the NUP may not support the impeachment unless, or the NUP may not support the impeachment unless new and compelling evidence emerges. But party chairman and Deputy Speaker Ronnie Puno clarified this does not reflect a unified position, saying members remain divided and may instead vote according to their conscience. The NUP is the second largest bloc in the House.
Joining us now is Manila 2nd District Representative Rolando Valeriano, a member of the National Unity Party. Good morning, Kong.
Good morning po at good morning sa lahat ng televiewers at sa lahat ng nanonood.
Alright, Kong, thank you for joining us again. No? Tama ba yung report? Medyo divided daw po kayo regarding the impeachment of the Vice President?
Well, ganyan naman po lagi sa una. Sa matter of fact, wala naman pong never the NUP ang nagdikta sa amin kung ano yung boboto po namin. Not only in impeachment, but in all other House bill na gusto namin, conscience vote po lagi. At ang instruction lang po, basta bumoto what is right and what is just. And it will depend on our conscience vote. Yun lamang po. Kaya I still believe, and I think even other, I'm not speaking in behalf of the NUP or in behalf of other party, pero I believe po na ang mga congressman naman ay boboto ayon sa tingin nila ay tama at makatarungan.
Sir, iba-iba no yung reports ng mga nandito sa NUP, medyo dun sa optics, no, what could this say for this for your block?
Hindi po, I think it was already clarified by DS Puno regarding po dyan sa statement niya na ang NUP ay boboto based on the conscience vote or what is right and what is just. At lagi naman po, even nung first impeachment, yun naman din po ang nangyari. Wala pong official stand o never kaming pinuwersa ng NUP, ng partido para bumoto sa kagustuhan ng isang partido. Lahat po kami ay sinabihan naman na bumoto kayo ayon sa tingin nyo tama, makatarungan, at sa tingin nyo ay naaayon sa konsensya ninyo. Yun naman po lagi ang stand ng partido ng NUP.
Pero kung may balita na po ba kayo with regards to kung umabot po to ang impeachment complaint sa plenary vote, kung may numero po bang enough to transmit to the Senate?
I think so. Meron pong numero yan. 105 yata yung magic number sa narinig
Yes.
ko because of the... Opo, 105. Tingin ko kayang-kayang ma-achieve yan pagdating sa... Kasi po pagdating naman sa Justice Committee, kapag napatunayan na mayroong forms and substance naman yan, natural, hihimayin na yan at makikita naman po ng mga ibang congressman, lalo na po yung mga baguhan pa, makikita nila yung evidence na ilalatag at kung sa tingin po nila ay tama yung ebidensya at dapat ma-impeach, definitely yung mga miyembro po ng Kongreso ay boboto sa tingin nila ay tama at makatarungan.
Kung have you seen the impeachment complaints? If so, kung ano sa tingin nyo sa apat ang pinakamalakas?
To be honest po, ang nabasa ko lang yung unang tatlo. Yung huli po, hindi ko pa nababasa. Wala pa kaming kopya. At yan naman po lalatag sa amin pagdating sa...
Kung nawawala po kayo?
Sa plenary.
Okay.
At tingin ko ang malakas dyan.
Yes, hello.
One
Hello,
is
sir.
yung nagbanta po siya.
Kung nawawala po kayo, yung signal ata ng Wi-Fi.
Ay, sorry. Ang malakas po siguro dyan yung nagbanta siya. Yan, narinig po ako.
Yes,
Yes,
Kong.
yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay na po. Ayan. Sa tingin ko po, malakas naman halos lahat yung mga naunang tatlo. Yung pang-apat, hindi ko pa po nakikita. Kasi, as far as I'm concerned, kung matatandaan niyo po sa Blue Ribbon, kami din naman po yung nag-hearing doon, tsaka yung sa Quadcom, nakita ko po yung ibang ebidensya, lalo na yung medyo nag-meltdown siya. Tsaka in regards doon sa confidential fund, siguro naman po everybody will believe na walang Mary Grace Piatos. Alam ko po, pati yung pangalan ni Atty. Shell Jokno, nandun sa confidential pa niya. So tingin ko po yun yung medyo malakas dahil kitang-kita yung mga ebidensya. Pero it will depend pa rin po kung paano ihimayin ng Justice Committee by next week. Tingin ko, kasi yung Monday to Wednesday, syempre titingnan po muna yung forms and substance niyan. And then after that, pag meron naman na pagbotohan na pwede ng baka mahimay na po yung mga evidence at yung article of impeachment. 4 po yan. At sa tingin ko naman na positive naman
Okay.
Tingin ko po papasa naman sa Justice Committee at mapupunta ng plenary.
Sir, medyo maiba lang tayo. Ano yung personally take nyo doon sa naging allegations nung kickbacks dun sa public officials, including si President Marcos, made by the 18 former soldiers daw? Hello, sir.
Naghahang ating signal ni Congressman Kong. May technical difficulties ata tayo. Ayan.
Yung mga Marines, are we talking of the Marines? Yung,
Yes.
o ba yung
Kong, yung signal niyo po, mamamalabo Kong, sayang sinasabi niyo.
tama ba?
Yes. Hello, Kong?
Teka po.
Alright, medyo mahina yung signal siguro ng Wi-Fi ni Kong. We'll try to fix that, but for the meantime, thank you for your time, Manila 2nd District Representative Rolando Valeriano. Now, also joining us to analyze the latest political developments is political strategist Malu Tiquia. Good morning, ma'am. Thank you for joining us again on the show. Ma'am Malu?
Hi, good morning,
Yes.
Diego and
Denise.
parang hindi si Angela ito. Hi.
Nasa Netherlands
Denise.
si Angela. Ma'am Malu.
Okay, good morning sa inyo. Good morning sa mga nanonood at nakikinig.
All right, ma'am, let's start off with this. No? We were talking to Congressman Valeriano and we were talking about yung NUP and medyong lumalabas sa report, divided sila with regards to how the impeachment vote for the Vice President should go. So ano pong impact nito, do you think, on the whole process?
Well, siguro tingnan natin, Diego, when they released that statement and was clarified by DS Puno, it would appear that it was a party decision, no? That it was further explained individually by the members. I would say that it's essentially a trial balloon on how voters will react on such a statement. They're the first political party to come up with such statement, and my sense is that they were trying to contrast themselves from all other political parties. I understand that there will be a Lakas meeting and an NPC meeting over the weekend. So I guess this is the sensing part of the leadership of each political party to determine where their members are.
Itong meeting from both parties, ang issue is impeachment or alliances na po ito, Mamalu?
It's on the impeachment. I think they need to come out with a party decision on that because it is important that they know the numbers. As your former guest was saying, you need 105 to transmit it to the Senate. The fact that the 1/3 of immediate transmittal to the Senate was not arrived is for me telling, since you would see already a division, a fracture in the wanted, kasi nung first impeachment, I think they had 235 or something. No? So it's a huge disparity from the previous to today. And I would say that is because of the declaration of the intent of the Vice President. When you bring 2028 into the picture, politicians would definitely change one way or the other.
Ma'am, speaking of, you mentioned division, no? How does this exactly, this development reflect the broader political climate in the House regarding Vice President Duterte?
Well, you would see that by probably there'll be an every week sensing or feeling their way through in terms of the numbers. When it was referred, when they will discuss the 4 impeachments on Monday, and there is that background of the ICC. So you see Duterte at the international level, Duterte at the domestic level. Politicians will, especially those who are subject to re-election, both in the House and in the Senate, would really have to go and sense their constituents on the issue. Kasi nagiging political na.
All right, ma'am, given that all of the things that are happening, no, you have the ICC trial, you have this impeachment in the lower house. What do you make in the sense of alignments that are happening leading up to 2028? Do you see the Duterte bloc strengthening already? Or do you see that the PBBM side is medyo nagpapanik because meron supposedly he's wearing pink socks right now? Cryptic messages, that's hard to read. Sasabihin, it's not political, but the pink socks tells a lot eh.
Well, Diego, as you very well know, anything and everything in Philippines is political. The pink socks, although may not be good as an optic, is signaling to everyone that Mayor Robredo is very important for the president. Insofar as the Duterte base, and I keep repeating, the only candidate who has a political base, or what we call as the baluarte, is Vice President Inday Sara. There are only 2 scenarios. Either you consolidate, which means you expand the base, or there's fracture. When there is fracture, then the tendency of others can come in. So dito, when she declared her intention, there was consolidation. The different organizations became alive, and as we speak, they are moving to consolidate further and determine where the weak geographical areas are. In terms of sino magiging kalaban, I think it's very clear that the opposition is being positioned as being Dilaw, Pink, and Makabayan. But the point of them agreeing to work as an alliance is the problematic area. in terms of the administration would have to define sino ba yung aking nunumbrahan. Until now, if you are not able to do that, then there is always the advantage of the person who declared early to be able to move along the different fissures in the political landscape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And wait, before I turn, I'd like to clarify one thing with regards to the impeachment on VP Sara. Anong impact nito in terms of undecided voters? Will this, kasi alam mo, the Filipino, they're a sucker for those who are dehado eh. So do you think this will be a positive for VP Sara if it's transmitted to the Senate? As a parang senyalis na parang iniipit siya masyado?
Oo, tama yun, Diego, no? The Duterte brand has always been an underdog, an outlier. And in this landscape where the vice president decided to change it from being defendant to being competitive frontliner, she introduced the card of politika. No? So makikita mo, tuwing mong babanatan siya, it's really politika because of the 2028. Tuwi mo siyang dudurugan, demolish, it will always go back to underdog yan, Mindanawan yan, kaya ganyan ginagawa. I mean, in certain camps has been saying she can still be pulp dry. I don't understand what their definition of pulp dry is because since 2023, less than a year in office, she has been demolished. The whole kitchen sink has been thrown. The house, wherever that is, has been thrown at her, and she still stands. And even the story of the trend analysis in all survey results show that. Bababa ng konti within the margin of error, aangat ng by more than the margin of error. And when you look at the geographical areas where she is gaining miles and miles, it's always Mindanao and Central Visayas.
Yeah, that's right.
Which means the Cebu, no? So sa Mindanao, nakakakuha siya ng 70%, 80%. That's base. And if you are able to get Central Mindanao at 60% and her base, which means the voters supporting her across election cycles, that's like 30 to 35%. So you're just looking at Luzon, which is 56% of the total registered voters. You get 10% there, then you'll get 44, 45. So, but if you're going to work really hard, Luzon can be 20% and you can be majority president. So those are the numbers. And for so long as the 30 to 35% of the base will not melt, and I don't see it melting with the impeachment. Kasi yun na yun eh. Yun yung baluarte ng Duterte. So, siguro ang mawawalaan yung medyo fence-sitter, no? Or not yet decided. Pero dahil maaga siyang nag-declare, marami ang nagsasabi na dito na ako, ito na yung kandidato ko. So those are cards in play in the arena that has been changed.
Ma'am, on the side of things in The Hague, Netherlands naman, no? Ang daming, many things unfolded yesterday and today it continues. Any expectations? What's your assessment on what Kaufman said?
Well, I'm very happy at the way Attorney Kaufman has defended the president in his opening statement. If you read it or you hear his presentation, this is a person who understands Filipino culture, Filipino words, the context of each word. And to a certain degree, he understands the president on this war on illegal drugs. Having said that, I don't see it as a crime against humanity because the prosecution characterized President Duterte as Hitler. Hitler distinguished 6 million Jews. Let it be clear, that in itself is a crime against humanity. The president, they were only able to present, I think, 43 witnesses or cases, and karamihan doon, hindi naman karamihan, parang 5 doon drug lords. So, it's really the persuasiveness, the use of the words, and the use of the data that will swing this case, no? To a certain degree, I would hope that the defense would be ruled as being favorable by the judges, but I also do understand that the prosecution need to go to the presentation of evidence and to the actual trial. So this is touch and go. If we will be there for the trial, I think that can go 10 to 20 years. And really, the president has said that he has accepted his fate. So those are the things happening behind such oral presentations by both sides.
Yeah.
And I just hope that justice be rendered.
All right. Thank you for your insights, political strategist Malu Tikia.
Thank you.
Don't go away because we're not done yet. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
The Philippine Medical Association urges stronger prevention and vaccination efforts against dengue as it sets a goal of 0 dengue deaths by 2030. The details in this report by mobile journalist Ray Vicente.
Wala na dapat ang mamatay pa sa dengue. Kaya naman target ng Philippine Medical Association ang 0 dengue deaths sa 2030. #ENDDengue or Empowering Networks to Defeat Dengue Coalition was organized by the Philippine Medical Association on Thursday, February 26. With the aim to have 0 dengue death by 2030, PMA together with the Department of Health calls for strengthening prevention and efforts to fight the viral infection.
And we agree on the other 4 pillars to include community engagement and education, eliminating breeding sites of vectors, epidemiology concerns, focus on integrated dengue surveillance systems, and at last but not least, of course, the development of dengue vaccine.
Active lobbying of new vaccine is being introduced to authorities, especially doctors cited neighboring countries like Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, and Indonesia have already won.
Wala pa pong vaccine na nasa market ngayon. We do have now a next generation which we have been working on to ensure the safety of our children, our people. Vaccine would be the most important preventive measure.
While they acknowledges the lower dengue cases, the high fatality rate is still being emphasized.
Kung ikukumpara natin yung 2025 sa 2024, bumaba po ng 26%. Pag kinumpara naman natin yung dami ng namatay sa dengue ng 2024 at 2025, bumaba po ng 15%. Pero tingnan nyo kung gaano yung pagbaba. May problema tayo sa dengue kasi hindi katanggap-tanggap na marami ang namamatay.
Filipinos aging 60 years old above have the highest fatality rate, while those aged 1 to 14 still have the most number of cases. For this year, there has been a recorded 14,000 dengue cases in the country as of February.
Ngayong po 2026 hanggang February 14 ay meron na tayong lampas 14,000 kaso. Malaki pong pagbaba kumpara sa parehong panahon ng 2025. Ito po ay dapat bantayan sapagkat may dalawa po siyang peak cycles. Ang una po ay January at February sapagkat sa eastern part ng ating bansa ay tag-ulan. At ngayon naman po, yung July to October, yun ang pinaka-peak ng dengue sa ating bansa.
PMA reminded public to remain vigilant despite the decrease, especially during first peak of virus this first quarter. Kapatid Ray Vicente, we are One News.
Actually, itong dengue na to, matagal na to eh. Bata pa ako, this was already a problem.
Yeah.
But ang important dito, leading up to 2030, is if there's an acceptable vaccine. Diba kasi yung Dengvaxia was an issue.
Yeah. Actually, I think they're rolling out a newer
okay.
vaccine. Waiting for approval pa, Diego. So, let's...
Ito less siguro complications.
Actually, that's what I wanted to ask. Anong difference din sa, syempre, yung sa Dengvaxia was an issue. So, is this way better? How is it better? If
Actually,
ever?
yung Dengvaxia, it was an effective vaccine. Ang problema, the labeling was when they transferred it here to Philippines, nag-iba sila ng box tsaka labels. So, hindi nalagay yung part na dapat you can only use Dengvaxia if you've had already at least one dengue attack already. So, yung mga ibang tao na na-inject na wala pang dengue attack, yun na nagkaroon ng complications.
That was the time, I remember that.
How old were you then?
I was young. I was in elementary ata ako.
And I was already reporting on it. Nako.
Yeah, but I do remember.
Magmumukha akong matanda.
But I do remember that siguro, ayun, kaya ganun ka-careful with this newer vaccine that they're trying to roll out.
Naka-dengue ka na ba?
Yes.
Talaga?
Yes, I had dengue. And
How many
medyo,
times?
Once.
I had 4 times, so...
Four?
One more complete ko na yung 5.
Okay, oo nga. Pero kasi, di ba, isn't it scarier the second time around?
The second time around. So that's when your platelets go down and you need the blood already. Oo.
At saka, ako personally, lapitin din talaga ng lamok. At yung area mismo namin talagang, yun yung maganda rin kasing itanong how possible is this na by 2030 zero deaths?
That would be...
The climate, no, the locations,
Kasi they thrive in
lapitin ng lamok.
The mga dengue mosquitoes, they thrive in clean water, not dirty water. They like clean water. So if you have a fresh pond of water there na kakaulan lang, nandun lang, ay, kaagad may nandun na sila.
And that's the question kasi, okay, meron tayong vaccine, Diego, pero sa public ba to or private hospitals lang, and even then...
Kung subsidized o libre,
How can we ensure na in a country like Philippines?
May access sa lahat. All right, let's move on. The Department of Science and Technology has launched the National AI Center for Research and Innovation aimed at strengthening the country's artificial intelligence capabilities. Mobile journalist Fatima Baduria has the report.
The Department of Science and Technology has launched the National AI Center for Research and Innovation, or NICRI. Its goal is to advance AI innovations and apply it to national initiatives. The DOST already has a lineup of projects ahead of its National AI Center for Research and Innovation, or NICRI launch. This includes AI-powered chatbots, weather forecasting, and computing systems. NICRI aims to serve as an avenue for technological advancements that leads to national development. According to the DOST, its goal is to bridge the gap between AI awareness and the capacity to use it.
The gap is not awareness, it is institutional capacity. We also face structural challenges, limited advanced computing power, a shortage of specialized AI talent, and even adoption across the regions and governance frameworks that have yet to catch up.
This also means collaborating with the public and private sector alike, ensuring the innovations from the lab eventually reaches Filipinos.
Think of NICRI as a national utility. MSMEs, researchers, government agencies, universities, they plug in, access computing resources, and build and test AI solutions.
The Department of Education has already expressed its interest to work with NICRI for AI solutions in the education sector.
Within the Department of Education, there's also offices there that really look into not just building of AI systems to improve education service delivery, meron din po tayong efforts talaga to look into the curriculum.
According to Solidum, NICRI does not aim to compete against international AI ventures. Instead, it will focus on providing solutions to specific problems in the country.
Huwag niyong isipin na yung ginagawa natin ay gagawa tayo ng something na kakalabanin natin ang ChatGPT or DeepSeek. Hindi ganun ang problema. What is important is we're trying to address the solutions that they face or make things much easier, but not because it's easy, but based on science, based on data.
NICRI is part of the Philippines' national AI strategy, which harmonizes the country's fragmented AI efforts. Kapatid, Fatima Baduria, we are One News.
With regards to the dengue issue, we have now Dr. Ray Salinel Jr., an infectious disease specialist. Good morning, Doc. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Doc.
Good morning. Teka, ano ba to?
Yan,
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, nice to see you.
Yes, Doc.
you, Doc.
Go ahead, Denise.
Okay.
Doc, kanina pinag-uusapan namin, no, gano'ng kaposible ba to on your end, yung no dengue deaths by 2030? And ano yung mga need na gawin, no, para ma-achieve to?
Well, alam mo, collaboration talaga ito ng marami pong stakeholders, PMA, Philippine Academy of Family Physicians, Philippine Pediatric Society, Philippine College of Physicians, ay nagko-collab na po ngayon para po ma-achieve itong goal natin po na zero death dengue by 2030. Posible yan, we still have like almost 4 years na lang, pero siguro kakayanin natin masasama-sama tayo.
Doc, matagal na itong dengue issue. No? We were talking kanina. I mean, bata pa ako. I had dengue 4 times. We already have a good understanding of dengue. But how come parang until now, we're still having a hard time trying to control at the very least yung mga dengue attacks?
Alam mo, parehong tanong din namin pag nagmi-meeting kami, bakit hindi natin mapigilan yung pagdami ng dengue na yan? Dahil lamok. Lamok po kasi. Ito yung kalaban po natin, insekto po ito na, kaya nga po, may 5 pillars na ginawa po ang Philippine Medical Association. Ako po ang chairman po ng significant special interest group on dengue ng Philippine Academy of Family Physicians. Number 1, may isa pong area na about health education. Okay. Number 2, there will be a certain group for vector control. Okay. Number 3, there should be a research na ginagawa po natin para po dyan. Number 4, kinakailangan po natin ng vaccine development.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 5, clinical outcomes. They're planning to have a unified clinical practice guidelines on how to treat medically yung po mga pasyente po, whether adult or pedia. Ginagawa po natin lahat yan. Pero again, lagi namin pinag-uusapan yan. Lamok kasi lamok. So ano gagawin natin? Kinakailangan talaga yung pinamumugaran ng lamok, gawin natin paraan na mawala yan, mamatay yan. So yun po yung vector control na pinag-uusapan po natin. So marami pa ho talaga tayong kinakailangan pong gawin.
Yes. Doc, kanina na pag-usapan din namin, of course, vaccines. Very important. And if I'm not mistaken, meron tayong gustong i-roll out na bakuna, anti-dengue in the Philippines. Can you talk about that? How better is this one? And ano naman tinitingnan nating timeline? Kailan ba natin ito pwedeng makuha sa Pilipinas?
Alam mo, medyo controversial ng konti pag-usapan, in the small span of time, medyo controversial pag-usapan po natin, kinakailang klarado. Pero gusto ko lang po sabihin, may bakuna naman po talaga for dengue, For pedia and for adult, meron po tayong bakuna po dyan. Ang ginagamit na to, ginagamit na ngayon to, kaso nga lang po medyo, kailangan po natin siguro ng sufficient time para po mapag-usapan pa ng mas mainam. Kasi baka mamaya, ma-misquote na naman po o magkaroon po ng misconception na naman po yung po mga nanonood po sa atin ngayong oras na ito.
Pero Doc, yung Dengvaxia, yung generation na yun ng vaccine, was deemed effective naman. Ang naging problema daw, yung understanding ng mga tao, whether nagkaroon na sila ng dengue or not. Kasi bago ka turukan, tatanungin ko kung nagka-dengue ka na o hindi. So hindi sila sure kung dengue kasi hindi naman lahat nagpapatest, Doc So tama ba yun, Doc? Is that what happened?
At tama ka naman dyan, Diego. Pero alam mo, kasi nga po, medyo parang nagkaroon na po ng konti pong, hole ng konti, Doon po sa pag-carry out or pag-roll out po nito pong, yung controversial na nabanggit mo pong vaccine. Yan ayaw natin maulit-ulit, Kaya po, ngayon po mas grabe na po yung sinasagawa pong research at pag-aaral dito sa mga available na vaccines na meron po tayo ngayon.
Doc, how exactly are these vaccines available for the public noon? Sa mga hindi nakakaalam, paano ba ako makakakuha niyan? Ayoko na magka-dengue. Siyempre, how accessible itong mga ganitong gamot and vaccines?
You can ask your friendly family physician, your friendly internist, you can ask your friendly pediatrician about this. Sila po ang magsasabi po sa inyo at tuturo nila kung paano makakabili po nito.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, Infectious Diseases Specialist Dr. Ray Salinel Jr.
Maraming salamat.
In sports, Chocomucho ended a 3-game losing skid with a hard-fought 5-set victory over Galleries Tower in the 2026 PVL All-Filipino Conference. Ea Laure made an immediate impact returning from an injury, finishing with 18 points and 14 attacks, 2 aces and 2 blocks, while also contributing 5 digs and 7 excellent receptions. In another PVL matchup, the Capital One Solar Spikers edged out the Farm Fresh Foxies in 5 sets, with Sydney Niego scoring a career-high 20 points and Bella Belen delivering the match-clinching kill. Meanwhile, in UAAP action on Saturday, UST takes on UE in the men's and women's divisions at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., while NU faces UP later in the day at 3 p.m. and 5 p.m.
Yun, weekend na. Denise, thank you for joining us today.
Happy Friday!
Oo, first time natin nagkasama.
Yes.
On a Friday pa, di ba? What a way to, Well, it's the end of the week, everyone. Thank you for joining us this whole week of ICC updates, EDSA Revolution. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again, hopefully. Right, and that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
I'm Denise Valdesancho, sitting in for Angela Castro.
And I'm Angelo Castro III, kapatid BR1 News.
All sides, all time.